Because them need to know them about what. Can just what little bit then.
Miss.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
All right. You are the lucky beneficiary. Deserving beneficiary.
Blessing. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Peter Pan? How are you? All right. Yes, I didn't realize you were here.
I know you did.
I was trying to say, who's this young girl right? All right. So, Naomi, who is in charge of the proceedings?
So Peter right here.
Beneficiary yourself?
We want to put it underneath or? Yes.
Yes. She's still walking up. Yes? All right.
All right. Everybody who should be here is here.
Robert is here.
All right. So you know my usual style. We're gonna count to 1 million. So everybody be prepared. Count to 1 million before we cut the ribbon. That is to give enough time for the cameraman to capture this in slow motion. So 1 million. Right in front. So there you go. Your here. MP, you're here. All these chairs have been tested. In fact, I will not recline in them at all. And I will be that for all you who to test these chairs. Of course, yes, please. All right, so remember, we have to treat this as if we were on set. We have to get the people outside to the cooperative. Of course, Ms. Minister, please. Oh, yes, our 6 minutes. All right, everybody's ready. All right, so we're going to treat this as if we were on set. We would always want to have the best audio quality and no other audio that can be a distraction. You know, we have the most disciplined press corps in the world. I've seen press corps that is very disorderly.
Sorry, don't talk too soon.
No, our press corps is very well disciplined. All right, so Minister Green, as the Member of Parliament, you will give us an overview of the program in your constituency. You may brag about the benefits that you have received and those that are on the train line coming.
Yeah.
And then we turn over to Mr. Black, who will tell us a little bit about his story and why Minister Green will say why he was recommended. I'll ask Minister Mackenzie to say a few words. He also has a program under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Local Government. And then we'll ask our permanent secretary to say a few words about the process. We always speak about the process because this program comes under serious interrogation, which we don't mind because the program is designed for that. And then I will say a few words as well. So, Minister Green, you can start.
Thank you, PM. So this is the most transformative programs that the government has run through the constituency of Southwest St. Elizabeth, and I guess across the island. We've been able to have at minimum 4 beneficiaries thus far who have seen their lives transformed. We've had people in each division who have received a house and of varying sizes, and clearly what we have done is to look out for the people who are in the most need, and need comes in a number of different shapes and forms. We've seen old dilapidated buildings that had to be replaced. We've seen families who were in one-room structure that we had to give them a more comfortable arrangement for the family, and they just couldn't afford it. And in the case of Mr. Black, who is a most genuine and humble, hard-working man, literally lived nowhere, right? And it came to my attention, PM, you originally wouldn't tell because he's a very active churchman. He's all over the place, and members of the church reached out to myself and Council Witness Smith to bring to our attention that he had no home. And as such, we're very happy.
Growing up, I go through a lot of life, love story. My father never take care of me, with my mommy alone. We never have nothing, so living to over my home all a week, how much a week in a one bedroom. And that one of my cousin, an old lady, she died now. She said me can come and live with her. End up that me have to stay with her. But one thing with that old lady, she always telling me, say, God bless my grandson. So I just continued. After she passed out, they put me on the rent. I never had to work to maintain myself. So end up in rent due, me have to leave out of the house and give me notice me have to leave. I'm just catching from home to home. So I hear about the social prayer, and I have to thank my MP so very much. We do a lot on our council next week because so I pray that God keep them, guide and bless them. So I'm telling you, it's not so easy. And our Prime Minister, oh my God, God have to keep on blessing, guiding, protecting me, doing a very good job. The greatest Prime Minister I ever see. So I have to pick it up a lot. So I have to give a lot of person many thanks and many blessings for what they've done for me, especially God. Without God, I couldn't achieve this.
Thank you, Mr. White.
The Prime Minister, the sentiments expressed by the recipient is one that is echoed right across Jamaica. As a matter of fact, you may be surprised to know I got 3 letters since I drove up this morning inquiring how they can get hold of this Prime Minister. I think this is probably one of the best projects that have ever been instituted by any government because it reaches a level of persons in the society that we normally find out there. And the importance of these units, Prime Minister, provides a shelter, not just a shelter, but it actually helps to stabilize families. And I'm glad that I'm a part of a government that is led by you, that have demonstrated that ability to ensure that we reach down to the bottom where it matters most in providing housing solutions for many Jamaicans. The fact is that we can't build them fast enough, but over the period that we are going to continue to administer the affairs of Jamaica, I know the Jamaican people will place that confidence in you for you to roll out much more of these housing solutions for the Jamaican people.
Thank you, Minister. P.S., you want to say a few words?
Yes, thank you so much, Prime Minister. I just want to say that before I get into the process, just a few words, just a brief overview of the new social housing program, which was conceptualized in 2018, and we had a full rollout in 2020, having regard to the fact that we would have had to be planning for that implementation process. To date, we have handed over 202 houses to persons, and we have 59 units at various levels of completion. And so, Prime Minister, the target of the 200 that was set is exceeded before the end of the financial year. I'm also happy to advise that Prime Minister has given us a new target. He has more than doubled the target, and so for next financial year, we will have 500 houses. Yes, and so we celebrate with Mr. Black today, as he has got one of the units. What I can say is that this program goes through a very, very rigorous kind of investigation. The applications are made usually through the Member of Parliament, but that does not preclude persons. Prime Minister will tell you that on any given day he receives many applications, and they come into me at the ministry as well. And so they end up at one place where there's a project oversight committee. They undergo rigorous scrutiny and investigation where the technocrats go out into the field for the establishment, to determine the establishment of real need and the vulnerability of persons. And after that, it will go through the procurement process, where this, again, is a very transparent process that is used before a contractor is selected. At the end of the day, you will see a social contract being signed by the beneficiary. So it's really not any program that this government that is administering that is coming into any disrepute because of the vigorous scrutiny that it undergoes. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, P.S. A couple of things for note, given the season that we are in. Some of them we have said it on numerous occasions, but it has not made it into the public domain. But I believe that some of what I'm about to say should be in the public domain. First of all, the government has a very comprehensive housing program. And that housing program involves the construction of 70,000 new housing solutions. And those housing solutions will be market-based, meaning that the beneficiaries will purchase. The housing gap by the last housing policy that we had in terms of a numerical definition of the housing gap is that we need approximately 150,000 housing units to equalize demand for housing and the supply of housing. So the government's strategy is to assist the supply side. We have demand side assistance which comes from subsidized mortgage rates through the NHP, and that has been very helpful over the years in creating effective demand for housing. But the real issue is the supply. How do we get more housing built? And that is a very complex issue having to do with the supply of land. But what we are seeing is that the binding constraint now on the supply of housing is actually to find contractors who can build at scale. We can build 100 houses or even 1,000 houses. I do believe we may have some contractors who could do 10,000 housing solutions, but they couldn't do them back to back and all in one go. And we really need to develop the contracting capabilities locally to take on massive housing developments that would move the needle much more quickly. But what we are doing is building capacity, and I would say in another 5 years or so, we should have the local contracting capabilities where we can build at scale 10,000 or more units at a time, and that's where we really want to be. But providing 70,000 houses to the market would create an issue of equity in the society, meaning that if the government only focused on trying to solve the supply side of the issue, what would happen is that those people who have effective demand, they are the ones who would be able to purchase. Effective demand meaning they have income, they can afford a mortgage, they qualify for the mortgage, they have down payment for the house. Obviously they might have been employed or they have access to resources. But there is in our society a significant number of persons who are not employed, they have no income, they have no access to income, they can't afford a down payment. They are not living anywhere. What happens to those persons? Should they not have access to a minimum standard of housing as well? And so our housing policy, as I said, is comprehensive. So it looks at those who can afford, and we look at the price points in affordability. So, you will have high-end houses, you will have most of the focus being on middle-end affordable, and then you have low-income housing. But below that are persons who have no income, and that is where social housing comes in. And social housing can take different forms. So Minister Mackenzie is here with me today, and he looks at social housing from the perspective of indigency. So usually you're looking at an older person who has retired, who is a shut-in, because the local government has remit for the poor in terms of how local benefits are channeled to the poor and needy in a community. So the indigent housing program under the Ministry of Local Government is providing approximately about 150 units per year, and it focuses on rural poor and elderly and so forth. But then you also have another sector of the society. For example, you have mothers, single mothers with large households who live nowhere. They are in the age group to work, but they're not able to work given their circumstances. And they live in deplorable conditions. What should happen to them? Should they not have some access to some form of housing that gives them a decent standard of living? You have persons like Mr. Black, who, by virtue of his circumstances, has nowhere to live. Should he not be assisted? He's not working and has no access to income, has no family to take care of him. We have had situations where we have people who, when we have done the social investigation, they're living in abandoned cars. In one case, we looked at a family of a single mother with 3 kids living in a shed. The son was bitten by a scorpion. There was not even windows in the shed. So there are these cases which governments can't overlook. So whilst we try to provide market-based housing solutions, we also have to provide social housing solutions. Now this is just one form. In this form here, we have built a really good concrete structure. I believe it is at a cost of $2.8 million. It's built in a few weeks. It's not very expensive. It's for a single person. But we have done housing structures to take people out of deplorable tenement conditions where you have large families living in multiple shacks in a small space. We have done housing to remove persons from areas which are environmentally vulnerable. We have done small housing schemes like the one that we have done in West Kingston, where we did 12 units. So that Victoria Park, right? So that's the comprehensive nature of the program. Now everywhere I go, people want one of the social housing, and they say, Prime Minister, I want one of the houses. I think, and I can understand why. Everybody would feel that I am entitled, I need it, my situation is such, and that is why I don't make the decision. The minister doesn't make the decision. Or the MP doesn't make the decision. We recommend. So if someone writes to me, or the minister gets, as in the case as you have said, you didn't take it upon yourself, the church recommended the person to you, and all the recommendations go to a committee of technocrats. No politicians sit on that committee. The principal financial officer of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, who is here with us, Judith Rob Walters, looks at it from an accountant's lens. Exactly. Look at it from an accountant lens to make sure that from the start there is accountability. Because the moment people feel that there is favoritism and the program breaks down, the success of the program is that there is a robust oversight and there is no political interference with the selection process. We make recommendations, but we don't make the final selection. The final selection is based on an objective assessment. I'm sure Mr. Black could tell you that before he could have been approved, a team of investigators were dispatched. They verified his circumstances, but the most important thing is that they verified his circumstances with members of his community. So the community literally has to agree that this man deserves it. That is the basis of that social investigation. And once we are satisfied, then we move now to the technical and engineering. Can the house be built? So we want to know, does he have a place to build the house? Is somebody giving him land or giving him access to land, or does he have land? Maybe some family member would have given him. And once that is established, then we look on the technical feasibility. The flatter the land, the nearer it is to a main road, the less rocky it is, the easier it is to build. So this house is coming out at $2.8 million. That's really very good. We have built others like this, which have been far more expensive because of the engineering and civil works that have to be undertaken to build the house. So once we have passed engineering, then we go to procurement. And the procurement has very strict rules that protects the government's resources and maintains public trust. No one can say it is because they know the minister or they know me or know somebody why they have gotten the job to build. They bid fair and square, there's an established process, and they bid. And we are very careful in ensuring that the contractors perform, because our interest is to develop a cadre of contractors who can build quickly and build under cost. Because the biggest challenge that we face in terms of a threat to the program is if the contractors don't perform and there is overrun. Every dollar overrun eats into the next house that should have been built. And so we control that very, very carefully. So I use this opportunity to appeal to our contractors. Yes, you want to make as much profit, but please bear in mind that there is a social good in this, right? So those are just some elements of the program that I thought I would give. just one last thing. We're constantly reevaluating the program, and it is unlikely that we will go ahead with housing in this form based upon the profile and need of the beneficiary. So we may very well employ other modalities of building houses. We are now examining new building technologies where this entire structure could be put on a flatbed and just be brought here and placed on spot. And that would just save a huge amount of money. And the building technologies are there. The building lasts very long. They are hurricane tested and rated. They give great insulation and great protection from weather. And my own view is that they look aesthetically more appealing. So yeah, the program is doing well. We're past the 200 mark, but we have a far way to go. We estimate that there are about 6,000 Jamaicans who are in need of some social housing intervention. So it's going to take some time, but you can have fun. There is a program. The program is funded. These are not promises. These are commitments. I don't want to go too much into the season, but I'm hearing something about making promises. I don't make promises. I make commitments. And I'm not afraid to speak aspirationally. So it is my aspiration to end absolute poverty in Jamaica. A dimension of absolute poverty is when people do not have access to the basic standard of housing. If we could ensure that there's a basic standard of housing in Jamaica, then we would have ended one element of absolute poverty. Right? And that's aspirational. As I say, 6,000 houses, and we are only at 203 or 202. Still have a far way to go. Does that mean that I shouldn't have the aspiration? That I shouldn't, look to a big goal? But the difference is, though it is 6,000, 200 persons have benefited. They have started. There is an institution in place now. There is a budget in place. There is a process in place. And it can only get better. So, yeah, I think I'm given a whole heap now. Let's see what gets carried. All right, yeah. So just briefly, the social contract, Mr. Black, that you will maintain the house in or better condition than you have received it.
Yes, sir. This house got to be for help of life.
Yes, I would wish that that is the case.
That is the house we're going on now. The house we used to build in a long time and never built. This house we're giving now is the best house.
Yes.
First time it's board and fly and then something else.
The other thing is that you don't have no room to rent out.
Me not know if you're right.
Exactly. So you can rent out the place. We have seen cases where people have gotten social housing and they have rented it out. That cannot happen.
That is bad.
Yes. Then the other thing is that should your circumstances change and you decide to put on a room for your extended family, you must apply to the relevant municipal authority for the proper building approval, and you must notify the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation to get the approval as well to modify the house. And this house is given to you free of cost. But bear in mind, and I've always maintained, there is nothing free. It may not have cost you, but it cost somebody else. All right? And so the taxpayers of Jamaica paid for this as part of our social safety net and our social conscience. You have a duty having received this transfer, so the transfer is conditional on you continuing to maintain your stance as a good citizen.
Yes,
It is clear that when the social assessment was done, you were seen to be an upstanding member of the community, participated in community affairs, obviously an active church member, and we therefore see you as an ambassador for good in the community. All right? And that is the exchange, which is very necessary. Can you imagine if someone who was a plague on the community received this house? How people would feel about the program. So it is important that having received this house, you justify the benefit by being an ambassador for good in the community.
Long as I will keep on serving my God. I know that it's not easy, but serving God is the right thing to do. And once I put my trust in God, I know everything is okay. Everything I do only for God.
Excellent. All right, so you're saying here, Mr. Black, and yes, Minister will just witness. Minister will witness. Yes, you witness. Thanks.
Gentlemen, can you look at
The minute.
Yes, I will.
Yes, and then Minister Green, you will sign.
Yeah.
Mr. Green will sign. Oh, you'll witness, rather.
Yeah.
And just exchange.
I'm just going to ask PS to sign this one.
Yeah.
Oh yes, very important. It has to be seen.
That's it now.
All right, good. All right, thanks everyone. Let me hand over.
All of it is over, Mr. Black. Yes,
All right, hold on to your contract.
wonderful.
We're very happy for you. Yeah, man. And then the last one. Oh, that's fine.
Yes. Sorry, sir. You got a brief for fire station.
No.